Hello and welcome back to another exciting episode of the Kaleidoscope Maker. And in this particular episode, I'm going to start telling everybody ahead of time, where I'm going to show you how to make this, the trophy column kaleidoscope, and you'll enjoy it. It's a beauty. Hello. In this episode of the Kaleidoscope Maker, I'm going to show you how to basically reduce, reuse, recycle. That's what I want to call it. This is what I call it my trophy kaleidoscope. And it's actually made out of trophy column. Here I can show you a variety of examples. Trophy column, they come in all kinds of lengths and colors, and if you go to a trophy shop or somebody that supplies trophies, you can find them, and you can order stuff online, whatever. But I'm going to show you how to make it out of this trophy column. Now, most trophies are hollow inside, like this one, and I typically like to make mine out of tubes that are 8.5 to 9 inches long. Usually closer to 9 is what I like. And most of the time, we usually get ones that are completely round on the inside. I hope you can see that's completely round on the inside. There's no ridges. If you get one like this and they have round ones, maybe later I'll show you how to make it out of one of these tubes. They have these tubes that have ridges inside, ribbing and stuff, and you don't want to use those unless you can cut that out. This is one similar to this one. It's an oval. As you see, it doesn't have any inside, and hopefully later on I'll show you how to make one out of this. But most I'm sticking with the round ones. And the one I'm going to make it out of presents a little problem because it has little ridges on the inside. Hopefully you can see that. So we're going to discuss how to do that. And as you see, you can get various colors. Different ones have different sizes of ridges. So now I'm going to do my explanation. When you get your trophy column, you will typically also be able to get end caps, or what they call, I call them end caps. I forget the name. But anyhow, most of the time you can get them out of brass. Okay? And they have some that have ridges and other sizes. As a matter of fact, this one you see fits on there nicely. But I prefer to actually get the plastic ones. It's made out of plastic, which makes it easier for you to enlarge the hole, cut a hole out of them, which typically for the object end of the tube you'll need to have a larger hole. And that's exactly what I did with this one. I just took this one and I cut a hole into it. And this is a piece of plastic that's covered with paper, and I actually bought these from United States Plastic Corporation, and you can buy them in different sizes. These happen to be their 1.5 inch circles, and unfortunately because of the ridges in here I had to go ahead and use a file to file down the point where the ridges are, and I know you can see that. See those? All the way around. So it will fit in here with those ridges. I didn't have to cut the ridges. Alright? All this will be understandable if you decide to do this. But again, if you're starting out and making that trophy column, just find one that doesn't have any ridges inside. Easy way to do it. Alright. Now, the main emphasis of this is show you how to make another kaleidoscope, which I love showing you how to make kaleidoscopes. And the last one went a little bit too long because it was soldering and doing a lot of extra work and stuff like this. And I was also trying to explain some things to you. I'm going to try to cut this a little short because I basically want to show you how to make it. And I was going to show you how to measure mirrors and do all this other stuff. But I figured I can do another video on that. So let's go ahead and make the scope. First of all, I want my mirrors to fit inside. And in a future video I'll show you how to do this one. But I determined that I'll probably make it out of 1.25 inches with mirrors. Okay, because this is just an 1.5 inch tube at best. So I'll do 1.5 mirrors. 1.25 inches. 1.25 inches. I'm going to say that again, 1.25 inches. And I'm going to use a regular thing. Now, this is first surface mirror, and it's a little thin, and it usually comes in large sheets, and you cut it down. I try to be careful not to waste too much, but if you break them, that's fine. You can keep using them until you run out of material or it's too small to work with. This is a scrap piece that I used in another scope, and I plan to use this one. And like I said, I plan to cut it into 1 1/4 inches. And as you see, it's a little bit long for this one. I'm not going to use my other thing. But the nice thing is I can also figure out automatically that I want to cut my mirrors, since this is 8 3/4 inches long. And depending upon the thickness of your caps, it's about 1/4 inch. So I think I'd like to cut them about 7 3/4, which should give me 8 3/4 minus that, about 3/4 inch. You can adjust your object chamber width or depth however you want, but it's mathematics, and we can cover that later in a future video as well. So I think I'm going to go ahead and cut this down to my 7 3/4 inches. And if I make a mistake, I make a mistake. You guys see me try to fix it. And as you see, I'm working on the back side. This is the front side with its protective surface, and this is the back side, which is regular mirror. And again, it's just as easy as that. And I recommend you use a razor blade or a hobby knife, that's basically razor sharp. In order to cut this, I have my pocket knife handy in case if you don't happen to have one. And this will work just fine. So I need to sharpen it. So this is the length I need, but now I need to cut the width. And in this particular case, I'm only going to make this a 2-mirror kaleidoscope. I hope you remember in a previous video that I made a 2-mirror and a 3-mirror. And 3-mirror makes an infinite image, and a 2-mirror makes the mandala, or the circular image. So I said, what was it, 1 1/4 inches? Yeah, 1 1/4 inches. Hopefully this is not too tight like it was in the last video. And yes, there's better ways to cut and different procedures and methods to cut, but I will show you those in, again, future videos. I just want to add a little bit every time to get you used to it. Now, some people recommend that you cut the ends off the mirror after you make the lengthwise cuts. That's a good idea and good suggestion. It works. Some people like doing it this way. It all depends upon what you're used to, what you like doing, and what kind of problems you have. And again, this isn't necessarily the best way to cut mirror, but we will show that in future episodes. And again, you can kind of hear it. It doesn't crackle as much as the others do, but there it is. And I usually like to compare my 2 mirrors to see if they're the same width, and these pretty well are. It works out pretty good that way. Alright, so there you are. That's cutting your first surface mirror, and the difference between the front side and the back side. And again, like usual, I'll grab a hold of my marker and I'll mark the back. And this time I'll actually say back. Or in this case, I'll do it upside down for you. How about this? Didn't know I could do that, did you? I guess I work with mirrors too much. But anyhow, there you go. And the next step is for us to make the third side, which I happen to be out of mat board or the construction board or whatever you use. The third side can be made out of pretty well anything you want, but generally it doesn't reflect. If it does, then it's a mirror. So I will be back. Next thing I'm going to do is actually try to figure out what the third side, the non-mirrored side, is going to be. So I'm going to go ahead and pull the plastic off of this. And again, you want to clean it so it doesn't maintain the adhesive, and we'll talk more about all this later. But for right now, I'm going to kind of do my two mirrors together here, and I'm going to use my favorite tape. And I'm actually going to peel this or tear this in half. Doesn't have to be perfect. Again, you might want to go ahead and cut some of this thing up ahead of time. And the reason why I'm doing that is because I kind of want to get an idea of how my what my third side should be. And again, later on I'll show you a device to help make all this a little bit easier. There's all kinds of neat things that you can make and have that makes your life easier with kaleidoscope making. I'm going to turn it, well, I think I can do it to where you can see it. Okay, now we have our mirrors together at some kind of angle. Typically you don't do that. However, I've got a little bit of... Again, if you're not using the device I showed you before about mirror stuff and everything else, you can put a couple of little marks on your piece of paper, and then what you want to do is you want to just go ahead. I don't know if you can see this very well. I think I've zoomed in all the way. Okay. Hopefully I can scoot to where you can see it. There we go. And what you want to do is you want to take this until it makes the a complete object, which right there that'd be fine. See, it's complete or relatively complete. See, if I move it out of angle, it starts breaking up. You want to do the complete where it looks, I think it's about right there. Alright, let's see, and you just do some lines on your paper. But anyhow, okay. Then what I can do is I can mark it. Mark the inside edge if I'm going to put the piece of the third side on the inside, or the outside edge if I'm going to do it on the outside edge. And then I should have my measurement about how big that should be. Of course, you have to make that decision. In this case, I'm going to try to make it inside. So we will do that. And now, to let you know about the end caps while my third side is drying, the eyepiece or the end cap actually has a little plating on it, and it's been my experience that you need to actually take that off, and I usually scrape the inside, or you can use a Dremel tool or something like that to get rid of this, at least along the sides, because they'll have a tendency to actually fall apart. The adhesives that I use don't always like to bind to this metallic surface. So what I do is I typically roughen up the inside. Now in this particular case, I'm going to actually leave the eyepiece off so that you can see what looks like really nicely through the camera. And this will fit on the end, but I'm going to hold that off. But what I will do is I will go ahead and glue the eyepiece in. Actually, I may not have to. I think it's snug the way it is. But anyhow, these circles, like I said, you can get from United States Plastic Corp, or you can have them made or cut them yourself, any way you want to go about it. But these are acrylic. I find they're nicely done, and they work really well in the non-ridged body tubes. No, I'm not being paid for by the company to recommend this or anything else. You can find it wherever you want to, have somebody make them for you, whatever. Or you can cut your own. Again, I mentioned before how different plastics you can use. Okay, and there's the clear piece. Now when I glue this in, I want to make sure that I'm not using a glue that will smudge up the eyepiece. And as you can see, it fits in there real nicely. You can see it real nice and clear. I'm going to hold off. And another neat tool you can have is a ruler or something to slip in there to push it back up if it's not flat. I like these neat tools. Okay. But I will hold off gluing this thing on, okay, till the end, and I'll show you why. So now we need to wait for the mirrors. Make sure nothing fell inside of our tube, and as a matter of fact, you can clean it out if you want to. Again, I recommend you take this off, don't glue it yet until you clean it out, but it's ready. We'll be gluing here in a little bit. Again, the third side's not perfectly dry. I'm in a little bit of a rush to show you. I like being in a rush. Hurry. And I'm going to put on the third side. In fact, I'll use a couple pieces of tape here to put the third side on. Again, there are better techniques, but this one works. Now again, you can, I don't know if you can see that, you can overlap the sides, or if it's designed to fit inside, and your pieces may, inside, hopefully you can see that, like this. Your pieces may work either way. I'm going to assume that mine goes, since it's, I cut mine to be 1 inch. I'm assuming that it'll fit on the outside of the edge of the mirrors. And I'll put another piece on here. Again, while you're doing this, you're trying not to touch the inside of your mirrors either. But sometimes you can't help it. Wearing gloves might be a good idea too. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to test it here on my paper again. And adjust it. And it is best if you happen to have a backlit piece. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to grab some more tape. Go over the seams I just created. So I'll be back. You of course need to adjust and play around with your mirrors, but that really should be about 7/8 of an inch. Again, you have to play with it. In the future, I'll show you methods of doing this and calculating it, measuring it, and everything else. But for right now, that should do. Or you can do like I did here. You see how I pushed on one side and then I overlapped on the other one? You can do those kinds of things to do it, but it's still nice. Nothing wrong with it as long as your image is correct. And at this point in time, with that piece in there glued, I picked the end that I think has the best image, because one will probably be better than the other one, less splitting. And again, I could go ahead and cover the ends of this mirrors like I showed you before in other videos, but I didn't. And you see this one just slides in there a little too easily. Now, see, it comes out real easily. I will show you what you can do, or tell you the various things. Again, you can use some more of your tape to build up the tape on it so it slides in there nicely. You can put it in here, as I mentioned in my very first video. And you can pack something down around the outside between the mirrors. Don't put anything inside the mirrors, but between the mirrors and the body tube. Do that. And you can also put on some little felt pads. And you can actually make your own little felt pads. And typically I will put them on any side. Doesn't matter. And I'll try it in there and see if that takes care of it, or if I need to have more. And I think that takes care of it. Yeah, see, it slides a little bit. Yeah, I think I want to have a couple more in on there. Might be too much now. Double check your mirrors after you do that. Hopefully they're still good. I'm having a hard time seeing them anymore as I get older. And that makes it quite snug. That will not be moving anywhere. Okay. So now we got the mirrors in there. It's in there snug, not going to slide. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and add my other clear piece. We'll come a time where I can show you where you can have stuff in the mirrors. And somebody asked me before, are you limited to 2 mirrors, 3 mirrors, or can you do more? Yes, a number of Kaleidoscope artists have done 4 mirrors. Some have done 5. I've done a number of 5. I've done one with, let's see, 6 times 3, 24 mirrors. And maybe I can show you that in the future. Is that right? 6 times 3? 6 times 4 is 24. 18 mirrors. And there's a variety of shapes and other stuff, which again I plan to cover. If you continue to come back and enjoy and subscribe and like my pages, like my videos, so please do that. Okay. Now this piece will go right in here, and again I had to trim the plastic so it fit. If that's stuck enough, I probably don't need to glue it, but I will go ahead and glue it. See, I put it down in there. So I have one on this end. So now my mirrors are stuck in there. And I'm going to do some gluing, and then we'll be back. Okay, now with that glued and dried, and this glued and dried, I went ahead and told you before I had one of these plastic eyepieces, and I just cut a circle in there. Again, there are a variety of ways to do that. And that way I could go ahead and take, again, one of these clear piece circles that I had, glue this circle in here, okay, with the stuff removed, you can see that clear piece fits in there, and this fits on the end just right. Again, you'll want to clean out the plating because it doesn't adhere very well. But now it's time for us to put our stuff in it. This time, because it's backlit and everything else, I'm basically going to stick with what I call translucent clear colored pieces. And I'm going to put a few of them in here. I might put one or two small little, that one's kind of cute, looks like a little guy. One or two solids in there, but most of it's going to be clear, transparent, translucent. Now, I'm not going to fill it up all the way. Again, there's a lot to talk about with how you fill these things up. Some people like a lot of stuff, some people like a little. Find what works. I need to get a better selection. And I could also fill this up with other stuff, but because this is plastic typically, and this is plastic, I don't want to put any glass in there because it can have a tendency to scratch it up. So I'll typically put plastic in here because it usually won't. Find out sometimes on these Mardi Gras beads work out real well. There are sometimes small pieces and big pieces, combination. You know, whatever you like or don't like, you can put in there what you want. I think I'll put in a few more pieces. And for right now, I'm going to tape this on because it's a good idea just to tape it on. Usually I use clear tape. I don't have any with me right here. But I will tape it on, and then I'll experiment to find out what shapes and what pieces I like, what colors I like. And then when I'm satisfied, I will do this. And also, I usually have this piece on here as well when I do the assembly. Okay, I usually put this on first and do this step last. But anyhow, just to give you an idea about what this thing looks like, here we go. And perhaps it would be best if I can get some light behind it. Ah, there we go. Hard to adjust this while you're watching. Okay? You see it? That's your kaleidoscope. You can change the pieces out if you like or whatever you do. That's why I said try your pieces and glue it on when you're satisfied. So at this point in time, once this glues on, and once this is glued on, your trophy kaleidoscope is done.